Hey guys, it's Maddi Gordon, driver of the Carlisle Tools Top Fuel Dragster for Ron Capps Motorsports, and this is the Fans View Podcast.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Fans View Podcast. Today's guest is a barn burner. After a breakout rookie season in Top Alcohol Funny Car that saw her rack up multiple wins and nearly capture a world championship, today our guest has made the biggest leap in the sport yet. Easy for me to say. She is now strapping into a 300 plus mile an hour machine and proving she belongs with the best in the NHRA. Please welcome today's guest, Miss Maddi Gordon. Maddie, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. That was quite the intro. I'm feeling excited.
Hey, that's what I'm here for. I'm ready to get you hyped up. And honestly, I could have went on for your accolades before we even get started are impressive. Kudos to you for being such a young woman and already so distinguished, in drag racing and in your driving discipline, because it is, honest to God, it's impressive.
Thank you. No, I really appreciate that. I'm just so fortunate to be part of drag racing. I love this sport in and out, and I've just been really blessed to do it literally my entire life. Went to my first race at 8 days old, so I got started very young.
Hey, you're just as good at segues as you are at racing. First question up was, you grew up around racing your entire life. But do you remember the moment it went from this is a family thing, this is what my family does, to this is what I want to do?
I can't think of any specific moment. I went to my first race at 8 days old. Obviously don't remember that. But I started driving at 8 years old. But it's funny, typically as a young kid, you always hear your parents talk about my kid rolled over at this age or whatever it might be. I rolled over at the Chicago racetrack. Everything is done by racetrack or race year or what season. And
absolutely.
Although, yes, I was born into it, my sister and I both had a choice. We did not have to race. And frankly, it would have saved my parents a lot of money if we didn't want to race. So my dad grew up in drag racing. My mom grew up with your normal sports, your softball, your, volleyball.
Stick and ball sports, yeah.
Stick and ball sports, yeah. So, and my sister and I, we both did that. We did softball, volleyball. I did gymnastics, and we did both and also raced. And just, we always knew drag racing was where we wanted to end up and what we loved doing. So that was always the forefront of it. And then we did stick and ball sports on the side. And eventually, as we got older, we just switched it 100% to drag racing. And then we've been there ever since.
I think that's working out for you. I know it's a little early to really make a definitive statement about it, but I think you're going to be okay, kid.
Well, I appreciate that. I've been enjoying it, so I'm glad you think it's working out.
For people who live under a rock, or maybe they're not into motorsports, because I have a lot of different athletes on, and maybe they're meeting Maddi Gordon for the first time, how would you describe who you are today as a driver?
Who I am today as a driver, I definitely am somebody who enjoys the heck out of what I'm doing. I love driving, but not only that, I love the sport of drag racing. I love the camaraderie. I love working on the race cars. Actually, it was Monday, and I had the option to take an early flight or take a later flight, and I chose a later flight because Dustin on our team was teaching me how to build a short block. So I not only love the driving part of it, but I love the mechanics of it. And that's something you don't see in me quite as much as you used to see in the alcohol funding car ranks, because in the alcohol funding car ranks, I started doing bottom end. Then I switched over to clutch, and I did the entire clutch, take the transmission out, swap packs. If we needed me on the motor too, I could tear the engine down to the short block. And so I was a little bit more hands-on versus now in the Top Fuel car. I'm so busy at the racetrack outside of working on the car. That's not my primary job, but when I do have that extra time, I always take the opportunity to learn more about the engine, the clutch, the tuning aspects, whatever it might be, because I love the sport. I just love it.
I love the passion and just intensity that you speak about, like tearing apart a clutch with. It's remarkable. That's impressive. We kind of touched on it. You are not a first generation racer. Being the daughter of Doug Gordon, what's the biggest advantage that gave you early on?
A lot, I would say. My dad is a 3-time world champion, won 7 regional championships in top alcohol funny car. My grandfather drove before him. And so they've been in the industry a very long time. Without my family, I could never be here. It would be genuinely impossible and truly impossible at my age. Like, there's no way around that. And of course, Ron Capps and Carlisle Tools, they brought me up to the professional ranks. But if it wasn't for my family getting me to the alcohol ranks,
right,
Ron Capps probably wouldn't even know my name. So having that backing with my family and that experience that they have has just truly been amazing, because in my opinion, to be successful at anything, whether it's driving an alcohol funded car, driving a top fuel dragster, building a spa, I'm looking at a spa, that's why I said that, I don't know, whatever, you have to be 100% dedicated. You have to put your whole life into it, in my opinion. And when we go out to dinner, my dad's teaching us how to bracket race with salt and pepper shakers. He's teaching us, here's the starting line, this is you, this is Macy, here's what you need to do. So we've consumed our whole lives around that. And
right.
Fortunately, my mom, not being a drag racer growing up, she has transformed her life into being a drag racer. So we can all do it as a family. So I think that's been huge.
I love it. I've spoken to some second generation, and as you said, your third generation, but they've said, coming from someone, for instance, Teal Piper, whose father was like a huge name in professional wrestling, she said something that stuck with me, and I'm going to butcher this, but it was that the door, being who she is and having the last name she has, the door opens twice as fast, but it also slams shut twice as hard if you don't meet expectations. On the flip side of what we just talked about, what's the pressure that comes with that Gordon last name and being a third generation driver, carrying on the legacy of your grandfather and your father? Those can't be easy shoes to fill or easy shadows to kind of drive in.
No, absolutely. That is a great quote, and that's a great perspective, because it's very true. Very, very true. I got the opportunity at 19 years old to license in the world champion top alcohol funny car, which I don't think in history there's ever been a world champion get out of a race car for a rookie. That just doesn't happen. And but because of my family and because of what they saw in me as a driver and as a crew member, they gave me the opportunity. But like you said, the expectations are high, and everybody, expects you to do good because you have that Gordon name and you have that backing. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't the easiest thing right away, and it took some perseverance, of course. I didn't do everything right, and I definitely made my fair share of mistakes. And I guess what they say, that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and I truly believe that. So and I'm going to start off with saying my family is lovely. We all support each other. We don't argue. We truly back each other and support each other 100%. But the first time I warmed up the race car, it was my first ever time, Phoenix of 2023. And we had made the plan that entire year, I was going to warm the car up every morning so I could get used to the procedures and how the race car sounded and felt, everything like that. So it was the first time. Everybody, I think, kind of expected me just to go out there, just to warm it up and just do great. Rev it up perfectly, put it in reverse and forward perfectly, all that, right? So I do the warm up the first time. I had a little trouble getting it in forward and reverse because it's not really as easy as you think. You have to finesse it with the clutch, and I ended up getting it, and I hit my shift points decently right, and then I go to rev it up, and it sounded terrible. Like, it was not great. I expected more from myself, and I clearly saw that my dad and my grandpa expected more also. And so I rev it up, finish doing that, I kill it, and my grandpa just walks in the trailer. And my dad doesn't really say much. And so I'm like, yeah, that wasn't my greatest. And dad's like, yeah, that wasn't really that good. And I walk in the trailer, and my papa's got he has his book that he keeps all of his tuning data in. And I'm like, yeah, Pop, it wasn't great. I'll work on that. He goes, yeah, that sounded like dog. You know what? And I'm like, yep, sure did. That takes perseverance. And they're right. It's honest. That was totally honest truth. And that's what it sounded like. It wasn't good. It wasn't great. But you start from here and you work your way up. You stick with it. And you know what? We had a killer first year. We had a great time. It was a great rookie season. And my warm-ups kept getting better. And they believed in me. They didn't give up on me. And I learned a ton. That was, one of my first times where my family was genuinely like, that wasn't very good. That kind of sucked. But they still believed in me, and I still believed in myself, and we got there, and so it was a great life lesson for me. And it's kind of a funny story now.
That's fantastic. I love that. Thank you for telling that. It sounds like maybe you and your family are kind of your harshest critics. Biggest supporters, of course, but harshest critics too. But was there ever a moment where you felt like you had to prove you weren't just Doug's daughter? Like, Maddi Gordon is her own person, and she can pull her weight here.
No, I would not say. And the reasoning behind that is, coming into 2020, my sister and I were Doug's daughters because we really weren't there very often. We ran junior drag shows. We really weren't involved in the funny car that much. 2020 hit, school went online. My sister and I, it changed our lives. We actually created our own metal manufacturing company in 2020. At the time, I was 15 and she was 14. And when I turned 16, we hauled a trailer around with metal to the shop every single day, and we were building stuff. And on top of that, we became the full-time crew members for my dad and my grandfather and our whole team. And the 2020 season, I did bottom end, my sister did top end, and we weren't strong enough to do those jobs initially, so we went to the gym. We made it happen. Wasn't an option. It's how can I figure it out? So Ricky, who was on our team at the time, he would tell us, are you American or Americant? Which one is it? And we were American, and we figured it out. And so through 2020, I think people started to respect us for the fact that we came up from the crew member side. We came up getting our hands dirty. We'd come out with oil on our face, whatever it might be. And my sister and I spent 2020, 2021, 22, and 23 before I ever stepped in the driver's seat, and we were just crew members. So for that reason, I felt that my sister and I had kind of created we were our own people. We were our own names. Yeah. Doug Gordon's daughters. We were Maddie and Macy Gordon, who worked on Doug Gordon's car. And because of that, I didn't really feel like as a driver, I needed to, people thought of me as Doug Gordon's daughter because we had been in the sport for a couple of years.
Yeah, you didn't even give them the opportunity to cry nepotism. You were just roll the sleeves up from the get-go. I respect that. Your rookie season, we kind of touched on in Top Alcohol, Funny Car, multiple wins, finals, nearly a championship. Did that even feel real while it was happening? And what clicked so quickly at that level?
In my opinion, it's all about the preparation. And I want to say I've been prepping my whole life for that. And in a sense, I kind of had. Never did I think I truly would get the opportunity to drive the Alcohol Funny Car, but I always dreamed about it. I always dreamed. My sister and I would work on that Alcohol Funny Car and in the shop since we were born. We've been surrounded by it. And I think there's something to be said about growing up around the racetrack, because although maybe you're not hands deep in a clutch, or maybe you're not doing bottom end, or maybe you're not driving, but being around the racetrack and just listening, you learn so much just listening. And I think, that was a huge part of my rookie year, definitely just being a third generation driver or a third generation racer. But I think looking back, it's very surreal. I never, ever, ever would have dreamed that I would finish number 2 in the world championship standings. We ended up winning the regional championship our first year and won a couple races too. It was just a blessing, amazing, and just so much I learned so much, and it was an amazing year. But there were some downs too. I made some mistakes and I hurt parts, and I was really, really, really upset at myself after I hurt the parts, because I know what it takes to tear down an engine, and when I hurt it, I'm part of the people who are fixing it, and I know what it takes, and I hated doing that for our team. And so I took it very hard, but that makes, in drag racing, you got these highs and lows,
Yes.
and the lows make the highs even better.
For sure. What do you think, looking back now with hindsight, what do you think the biggest lesson that season taught you was, now, carrying it to Top Fuel?
Biggest lesson is to take not just the negatives from a run, take the positives. Because I am, in my opinion, my biggest critic, and I'm never fully satisfied with a run as far as I go. I'm always finding a way to improve, whether it's reaction time. If I had a great reaction time, perfect. Well, how can I improve on my procedures? How can I improve? Maybe you need to pull a parachute sooner. Maybe I need to steer less or steer more or do something. How can I improve? So I'm always looking at how to be the best I can be. But after driving Alcohol Funny Car, during that season, I learned to also take the positives. So every run, I diagnosed every single run. At that time, I diagnosed it with my dad and my grandpa, and we would go through everything. And how can I improve on this? But good job on this. Constructive criticism, which is something that my family has always taught me. And then something that Ron Capps is also amazing at. And that's something that when he signed my license off in 2023, he was there for every single run and a huge part of my licensing process. But the first thing he did when I asked him to sign my license, he gave me multiple points that I did good on, and he told me one thing that he thought I should work on, which was getting it into reverse quick, or getting it into forward quicker. Because I'd back up and I wouldn't get it in forward as quick as he thought I should. So he gave me these points I should work on, and then gave me that constructive criticism, which was so cool because it was like a weird kind of like parallel between how he said that and how my parents would have said that. And it was like, whoa, this is kind of cool. Like, he's like my dad, like he talks like my dad, and then our paths cross like later on the next year. And it's like, whoa, like, that's so cool, but
funny how the universe works itself out.
Hey, you. Yeah, watching this right now. I see you. If you're enjoying what you're watching, I've got one quick favor to ask, and it only takes a second, costs you nothing, and makes a huge difference. If you could go ahead and hit that like button, maybe drop a comment. If you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed. Doesn't seem like much, but for small creators, it's everything. So let's help more people find this channel and keep the content coming. And honestly, I'm pretty sure the podcast will be really grateful. So if you're having fun, you like what you see, make it official, click those buttons. And the Fans View podcast, we'll see you next time.
Well,
right? Exactly.
Obviously, talking about Ron Capps, he's the one who has now brought you up into the Top Fuel program. When that opportunity came to move into Top Fuel, what was your immediate reaction? Were you like, I'm ready for this? Were you like, oh my God, I don't know if I'm ready? What was your initial reaction?
My initial reaction was looking behind me and like, are they talking to me? Are you kidding me? I was actually on our beta motorcycle. My parents told me this, and I was like, you told me this when I'm riding a motorcycle? I am going to crash before I see death. Like, we could have picked a time when I'm sitting down, but it's all good. We roll. We're crazy people. So it totally is parallel with how we roll. But no, that came to an absolute shock to us. There was never any prior conversations. As far as I knew, Alcohol Funny Car was the highest I would ever make it. And I had no idea that Ron was even looking at me to drive Top Fuel for him. Little did I know, he had asked high-ups, like executives at Napa, to walk to our pit without being branded, no branded, walk to our pit and just stand behind the pit and just watch. Just watch how my sister and I worked. And after hearing that, I'm like, what? Like, what idea? So that was really cool that, like, you know, he didn't even tell me. This was before he even talked to me about driving for him. And so that was just really, really cool that he believed in me. He fully believed in me to send his sponsors to our pit without prior warning. Like, he just truly believed in me. I thought that was really, really cool. And but again, just came as a complete shock to us. But we're over the moon excited. I mean, this opportunity has truly changed my life in like almost every way possible. The only thing that's the same is my family and where I live. Other than that, everything's different. But it's amazing. I love it. And just so grateful for the opportunity.
I love that. And while we're talking about Top Fuel, because like I said, I do cover like a plethora of subjects and areas of specialty for fans that may not fully understand it. Like, obviously they know what drag racing is. How different is Top Fuel compared to anything else you've ever driven before?
It's massively different. I drove dragsters previously. So I drove a junior dragster for 10 years and then a junior comp car for a couple years. Both dragsters, but very small compared to Top Fuel car.
Right.
I also drove super comp, but I drove fast enough to qualify for top dragster. So went about 180, 190 miles an hour, which is getting it for sure.
Yeah.
And then I drove an alcohol funny car, which is massively different than any of the cars I've driven. So an alcohol funny car, it's a short wheelbase. The engine sits in front of the driver. You have a 3-speed transmission, so I'm shifting it twice in a run. You're revving it up on the starting line close to 7,000 RPM. Your shift points are at 10,400, 10,300 RPM twice. And so the engine just it sounds a lot different. It reacts a lot different. We carry the front end to close to 200 feet. So that car is massively different. And then the Top Fuel car, it's the long wheelbase. Wing to wing, it's close to 31 feet long, huge. The engine sits behind me, which drives the race car a lot differently, especially because it's so long. So as opposed to the alcohol funny car, the Top Fuel car is 1-to-1, so there's no transmission, no shifting. It goes so dang fast. Thank goodness we don't have to shift it. So in this car, you're steering with a lot of finesse. You're just barely trying to steer that steering wheel, because if you yank it around, you got 31 feet. If you turn that steering wheel, all sorts of bad stuff's gonna happen. I don't even want to think about it. And
yeah, no kidding.
So the Top Fuel car is massively different. The first 400 feet, in my opinion, I feel like I can kind of take the race car where I want it, because we set the front end down, and then you're kind of able to steer it. But when you get to 400 feet, you better be in the center of the groove, because this thing, the clutch locks up, the engine RPM drops, and then it starts pulling a positive of 6 Gs, which is so much force on our body. It is literally, hold on, hang on tight, and it's insane, absolutely insane.
There goes Maddie, the Segway Queen Gordon again, because the very next thing on my cheat sheet was the first time you hit that throttle in that Top Fuel car. What did it feel like physically? And what's the biggest misconception fans might have about driving 300 plus miles an hour?
So the first time I hit the gas in the Top Fuel car, we only went to 330 feet. So you don't get to that positive 6 G-forces yet.
Right.
Coming from the alcohol funny car, I was shifting it. By 300 feet, you've already shifted it once. You've probably been out of the groove at least once, because the car never goes straight. And you've carried the front end probably 200 feet. So the first 300 feet in an alcohol car is insane. Absolutely insane. Versus the Top Fuel car, in my opinion, is actually a little bit smoother. The front end picks up and it drops back down, and I feel like I can kind of take it where I want and get it into center of the groove. So the first couple of hits when I hit the gas pedal, it was crazy. Don't get me wrong. It was super fast. But it was a little calmer, right? Hell, we got to like 400 feet. Then it was like just, oh my gosh. This, as what Jack Beckman says, when you get to 400 feet, that is what everybody pays for, is that 400 feet to 1,000 foot. And when I got to the first time I got to that point in the racetrack, it was the third day. No, yeah, a third day of testing, and it just sets you back, and it felt like my arms were like 3 miles long. It was absolutely gnarly. The pressure on my chest, I can't even explain it. It was like an elephant just shoving their foot on your chest because it's just so much pressure. I couldn't even, I don't even understand how the tires stay on the racetrack accelerating that fast. It's crazy.
That's intense. I've never even thought about getting behind the wheel, and I think I'm good now. I'm all set. What has been the toughest adjustment now so far in your rookie Top Fuel season?
There's been a lot of adjustments. Toughest one, maybe. There's so many learning lessons. Like it's hard to even pinpoint one. So many things to learn. There's the media. There's fans. There's driving the actual race car. There's sponsor appearances. There's so much going on past just driving the race car and hitting the gas. Maybe my toughest thing, I don't know, the first thing that comes to mind is time management, because I'm really bad with, like, I'm a totally ping pong, like, boing, boing, I'm over here, I'm over there. What was I doing 50 minutes ago? I have no idea, because I just been here, there, and everywhere else. So sometimes I get distracted, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't done my parachutes yet, and then it's almost time to warm up the car, and then I told Ron I was going to be over here, but that was 20 minutes ago, and so fortunately, we have Ted Yerzik, who is always on top of me, like making sure I am where I need to be. And Joe Sabo with Carlisle Tools. Sometimes I think he knows me better than I know myself, because he's like, Maddie, it's almost 2:00 and you haven't ate lunch yet. I'm like, oh yeah, you're right.
It's important.
And so he's like, stop what you're doing, go get lunch and go sit in your lounge because you're gonna like run out of energy. And I'm like, okay, yeah. So I go do what he says, but fortunately we've got really good partners and really good people around me that help me through that. And once I get more comfortable, once I kind of get in my groove of things, then I'll be good and I'll have my routines. But right now there's just so much going on but it's actually good, because I have to be busy, or I'm that type of person where I want to be busy all the time. So it honestly works out for the best.
Yeah, just knowing you for the 30 minutes I've known you, I feel the ADD is strong in you. So we got to keep you busy. In your opinion, before we get off the subject of Top Fuel, I wanted to ask you, in your opinion, what separates a good driver from the great ones at the Top Fuel level?
Dedication, I would say. In this sport, you have to be fully, what's the right word? Fully dedicated, to the 100%.
Just bought in all the way.
Yeah, you have to be locked in at every moment. And in my opinion, races are not won at the racetrack, they're won in the shop. And although I am not in the shop, our shop is in Brownsburg, Indiana. I'm here in California. I try to spend close to the same amount of time, obviously not close to the same amount of time, but I try to spend a lot of the time analyzing how I can do better, watching replays, watching the Fox show, watching what other drivers are doing. How are they pedaling the race car? Working on my reaction times every single day, trying to analyze why I'm 200s behind. I know I'm only 2 races in, but I want to be the best I can be, and I want to be a a good tool for our crew chiefs, whether I can relay data back to them or whether I can get the jump on the start line, whatever it might be. I focus my whole life around how can I be better for Ron Capps Motorsports, for Robin Troy, for Carlisle Tools, for Napa, for Monster Energy. How can I be better? And in my opinion, I think that's what makes the great drivers, because John Force, he probably didn't do much else other than drag racing. And he's the GOAT, and that's for a reason.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, because I know that's not just lip service. I remember seeing just a couple days ago, I believe, on your social media, you sitting in the hauler, I believe, just working on getting your jump right, just working on it, just sitting there working on it. It's honestly, your dedication to the sport is impressive. As we kind of start to wrap this up, because I know you're a busy woman, I can't let you go without talking about your mechanic identity, because like you said, you were a clutch specialist. You were, working on your father's car at a very young age. You're not just a driver. You work on, maybe not so much anymore, but up until recently, you worked on the car too. How important do you think that has been to your success over the years? And do you feel like that gave you an edge over the other drivers?
I think so. In my opinion, I don't know any different. That's how I've always been raised. But I think learning your race car is extremely important because when my dad or my grandpa would come to me and say, hey, we added 3 grams to the clutch, I know exactly what that does because I put those 3 grams on. And I know what it does to the fingers in the clutch. I know how it applies load. I understand what's happening in the race car. I understand what happens when I mechanically push the clutch in. So when they tell me, hey, you need to be less on and off the clutch or we need to load the clutch, I know what that's doing, and I feel like I can kind of understand better what's happening in the race car when I understand how the pistons are put together, how the rods are put together, because I did that at one point. And I just love that. That is so cool to me, and I just find so much interest in understanding the mechanics of that, understanding the tuning of that, and the top fuel car has so much going on. So, like when I got to build a short block the other day, I was so ecstatic. I could not wait to go build that short block because I got to understand the race car that I get to drive. I get to, although maybe understanding what they torque the rods to probably isn't going to make me drive any better, but it's definitely not going to hurt. It's definitely not going to hurt. And the more I know, the more I just feel like I can understand the race car. And what I really appreciate is my team, our Carlisle Tools boys, everybody at Carlisle Tools, Ron Caps, they all understand that about me, and they most of the time laugh at me. But they understand how much I enjoy that, and they always take the extra time to teach me because they know that I love it and I absorb it like a sponge because it's my life.
Yeah, your excitement is infectious. I just want you to know that. Again, as we start to round this thing out, obviously you're a driver, you're a mechanic. Seems like you're good at everything you touch. One thing you have done extremely well, it's how I found you, is you've built a presence off the track too, that being, social media. How important is that, in your opinion, in today's racing landscape? And do you feel a responsibility as a young woman to try to bring new fans into NHRA?
Yeah, I think social media is, really important. I think it's how you express yourself outside of what you see on, maybe like the Fox show, because they can only show so much. And social media is a way to express who you are. And as much as you want people to see, but the more you put yourself out there, in my opinion, the more people kind of enjoy that. And I know I do. I love to see the ins and outs of people's lives. And, when they do like a day in the life, I think that's so cool. And
for sure.
I'm kind of a goofball. Like
No, not you.
When I watch myself on an interview, I laugh. Most of the time I'm just laughing because I know what I was thinking in that moment, and I see how it gets like brought across. And typically it's exactly what I was thinking because I just blurted out. But I think that's very important, and I think it's something that's really good for our sport is social media. And I think there's a lot of our drivers do a really, really good job, in my opinion, of letting fans into your everyday life, which I think is great for our sport. And I really enjoy it. Cassie Powick, she does our social media, and she does a stellar job we always try to come up with some good, funny ideas and, just have fun with it because that's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be fun. And we try to do our best and just kind of keep it light and have a good time with it.
For sure. I mean, that definitely checks out. You being a big ball of energy, that checks out. I didn't have it in my notes, and we were about to round this thing out, my 2 signatures. But I want to ask you, because I think it's important to broach the topic. Every time I have a female driver on here, I love to ask their opinion. How important is it to you? Obviously, you're a young woman in a male-dominated sport. How important is it to you to be known as a fantastic race car driver and maybe not a fantastic female race car driver? Does it even cross your mind?
Yeah, I think it's, I prefer to kind of let the race car and the race car do the talking. And, if at the end of the day, I am a female. If people want to say I'm the best female driver, it's all good because it's the truth. You know, it's the truth that I'm not that I'm the best female driver. I didn't mean it like that. Just that I didn't mean it like that, but I just meant it like, you know, I am a female driver, and it's all good. You know, I don't like to focus on that. I just know I love what I'm doing. I love who I drive for. I love getting to represent Carlisle Tools and Napa and Monster Energy, and I want to do the best I can for them. And you know, I try not to get wrapped up in whether they say I'm a female driver or just a driver. It's all good. Just keep racing.
I love that answer. You could care less. Just drive. That's all you want to do is just drive. I respect it. And congratulations, by the way. We kind of glossed over it. Congratulations on that Monster Energy sponsorship. Pretty awesome, if I do say so myself.
Thank you.
Well, as we round this thing out, and I've already kept you longer than I should have, but I have to ask you my two favorite questions. The first of which being, obviously, we've said it. You're a young woman. You have a lot more laps. You have a lot more races ahead of you. You have a lot more jumps ahead of you. How, at this stage of not just your career, but of life, how do you define the term success?
How do I define the term success? Well, success is what you make it. You know, depends on what your goal was, I guess. I am a person, if I set a goal, I work day and night to achieve it, and that's how I've always been. And when I achieve that goal, call it success. And success looks different for everybody, I think. Somebody who's, for me, a year ago, or maybe 2 years ago, success on a Tuesday would have been finishing everything in my Tuesday rack. I had a job to do, and if I finished everything in my Tuesday rack, I got all my jobs sent out, I got all my bids done, I got all my CAD drawings sent, that was success. Today, success would be finishing my day, finishing all my emails, getting all my scheduling set. Success Monday at the U.S. Nationals is going to look a lot different. So, you know, I think it's just all in how you perceive it.
I love that. And I promise the last question is much easier. That being, obviously, as you can see, this is the Fans View podcast. We're all fans of something here. Outside of racing, what is Maddi Gordon a fan of?
Outside of racing, Maddi Gordon is a fan of, serious answer, I would say, is a fan of, like, wake surfing. That's super cool, I think. Like, good wake surfers. I think that's, like, awesome. Like, talent-wise. And also a fan of people that can run more than a mile. Because I cannot. And I, like, don't understand people that, like, go for half marathons. I don't get it. I wish I could. So I am a fan of people who can run half marathons.
Oh, you know what? That might go down as the most unique answer I've had in 2 years of doing this show.
That's very truthful.
No, I love it. I'd be disappointed if you didn't give me something that quirky at this point. Thank you so much, Maddie, for coming on the show. You have been an absolute delight. Where can people get a hold of you? Like you said, you're very active on social media. I know the website. You have a million things going on. Please plug away.
Yeah, so definitely we have all major social media channels. We have Instagram, Facebook, we have X as well. Instagram, we have our Ron Caps, Instagram and Facebook. We have our Ron Caps Motorsports pages, actually on Instagram, Facebook, and X. We have all three of those. And then I have all three of them as well for my personal accounts, Maddi Gordon Racing for Instagram and Facebook, and I believe it's Maddi Gordon TF on X. So we post all updates through the weekends, all the racing events, and then we do some fun stuff in between races too.
Awesome. And are you on TikTok?
I'm not on TikTok. Nope. I know. I know. We were just talking about the other day. I gotta admit. Okay,
Maddie.
Guys, I watch Instagram Reels over TikTok.
Call the police. Somebody call the police. Call the police.
I need to be better. Next time we talk, maybe I'll have a TikTok.
Okay, I'm gonna hold you to that. I
said maybe.
I'll just hold you to the next time we talk because we gotta have you back on. we didn't even scratch the surface on all the things we could talk about. Your accomplishments in your career thus far at your age is remarkable. And I could sit here and go 2 hours with you, but I know that you don't have that kind of time. So we're going to let you go at 40 minutes. But I just want to thank you. I want to thank your team for making this such an easy experience to have you on the show. Thank you for the time. Thank Carlisle Tools and Ron Capps Motorsports and Napa and Monster Energy for sponsoring you and keeping you in the car and keeping you on our TV screens. And you have just been a blast, Maddie. So we really appreciate it.
Absolutely. No, thank you for having me. It's been awesome. And yeah, really appreciate it.
Guys, make sure check her out on the Fox shows, on social media. We're going to get her on TikTok. Don't call the authorities yet. We're working on it. Go support her. Go support her sponsors. Go follow the show. It's 2026. I don't have to tell you subscribe. Just follow and subscribe. You guys know the deal. But most importantly, guys, at the end of the day, please make sure to call your mom.
If you haven't liked or subscribed, you're going to be joking me.